Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that I think we all wrestle with, change. And I don't mean just talking about it. I mean real, deep, lasting change. What does that even look like?
You know that phrase, right? You meet an old friend at the kopitiam, someone you haven't seen for years, and the first thing you say is, "Wow, you haven't changed a bit."
But have you ever really thought about that? When someone says that to you, is it a good thing or, maybe not so good? It really depends, Har.
To get what I mean, let me tell you this story. It comes from this really old instant noodle ad. If you remember this one, you're showing your age a bit, la. So the ad goes like this. Two old friends, a guy and a girl, bump into each other at the supermarket. It's all very sweet, you know? Ayo, so long never see, you haven't changed a bit. But then they both spot the last packet of their favorite instant noodles on the shelf. And just like that, the romantic moment is gone. They start fighting over this one packet, pulling and shouting. The woman yells, "You really haven't changed." And you know what he shouts back? He says, "I will never change." So funny, right? But it's also so true about how stubborn we can be.
Well, that stubborn "I will never change" thing, it's not a new problem. It's actually a very, very old one. And we see it play out in this crazy story from the time of the ancient Israelites.
Okay, so here's the scene. The Israelites are in a huge war against their biggest enemies, the Philistines. And in the very first battle, they're losing badly. So they come up with this plan. They think it's a genius plan. They go, hey, let's go get the Ark of the Covenant and bring it to the fight. They really thought this special holy box was like a guaranteed win button. But you see the problem here? They weren't actually trusting in God. Nope. They were trusting in a thing. They were treating the Ark like some kind of lucky charm, you know? Like a magic lamp that they could just rub and force God to come and save them. That, my friends, is what you call superficial faith.
So, how did their genius plan work out? Well, it was a total disaster. They thought, easy win. The reality? They were completely wiped out. They thought, God will have to help us now. The reality? 30,000 of their soldiers died. And the worst part? The enemy actually captured the Ark. Their lucky charm not only failed, it got stolen.
Man, that was a painful, painful lesson. But get this, it took them 20 years. 20 long years of living under their enemies before they were finally ready to really, truly change. Can you imagine that? For 2 whole decades, they just lived in misery, nothing got better. And then, after all that time, it's like a switch flipped. The whole nation, all at once, just decided they were done with the old ways and were going to turn back to God for real this time.
And this time, it wasn't just talk. This U-turn involved real action. The prophet Samuel told them, okay, if you're serious, you got to prove it. So they did. They went and threw away all their other fake gods. They all came together to say sorry for their sins, and then they did this one really symbolic thing.
The Bible says they drew water and poured it out before the Lord. Now that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? What's pouring water on the ground got to do with anything?
But think about it for a second. If you take a bucket of water and pour it onto the dirt, can you get that water back into the bucket? Cannot, right? It's impossible. That's exactly the point. It was their way of saying, this is it, this decision is final, no turning back.
What they were doing was the total opposite of what we in Malaysia sometimes call NATO. You know what NATO is, right? No action, talk only. Yeah. It's so us sometimes. We look at ourselves and say, I must lose weight already. Then we pass a durian stall and it's like, okay, diet starts tomorrow. That's NATO. The Israelites poured water? That was pure action.
But isn't it funny how life works? The very moment you get serious about changing, boom, a test comes. And for the Israelites, right after they made this powerful commitment, their biggest problem, the Philistines, came marching right back.
Just try to put yourself in their shoes. Can you imagine the fear? You've just gotten rid of all your lucky charms. You don't have a proper army. All you have is this new promise to trust God. And now, the same guys who crushed you 20 years ago are back. What on earth do you do?
Well, how they reacted to this test is what proves, at this time, that change was for real. It wasn't just on the outside. Something deep inside their hearts had actually shifted.
I mean, just look at the difference here. The first time, what did they trust in? An object, the Ark. This time, they trusted in God Himself. The first time, their action was basically to demand God's help. This time, they humbly asked Samuel to pray for them. And the result, from a total crushing loss to a total easy win.
And you won't believe how they won. They didn't even have to fight, really. God fought the battle for them. The Bible says he sent a huge, loud thunder that completely freaked out the enemy army. They got so confused they just panicked and ran away. All the Israelites had to do was chase after them. How amazing is that?
Okay, that's a great story from thousands of years ago. But so what? What does that have to do with us, living our lives today? Well, actually, a whole lot.
See, we might not have a golden box that we carry around, but let's be honest, we all have our own modern-day lucky charms, don't we? Things we depend on, instead of depending on God. What could they be? Maybe it's just the act of going to church every week, thinking that's enough. Or maybe it's your job title, your position. Could even be something like a cross necklace. Or just the idea that, I'm a good person, so I should be okay. All of these things can become our little lucky charms while our hearts are actually far from where they need to be.
You know, after that amazing victory, Samuel set up a stone to remember it, and he named it Ebenezer, which means, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." And the lesson is so clear, isn't it? When we finally stop relying on all our little tricks and lucky charms, and we make a real, action-based turn to God, we will see His help in ways we could never have imagined.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Real change is not easy, it's tough, it will be tested, but it is so possible. It took the Israelites 20 years, but they got there. So what about you? What about me? What's that one small action, that one poured out water moment you can take today to move past no action talk only? What's your first step going to be?